past week, I've been playing Infinity Nikki, a game that caught my eye back in May of this year during a PlayStation State of Play. The very groovy developers of this game reached out to me to see if I wanted to jump into Nikki to experience what it has to offer shortly before the closed beta test begins as of today. This game was actually first revealed at the end of 2022, but I didn't know it existed until this year. And little did I know, this is actually the 5th game in the Nikki franchise. However, this would be the very first one to take on AAA open world game status. Now, the question that I wanted answered when I first saw the trailer during that State of Play for Infinity Nikki was, what is this game? It looks simply gorgeous. There's a lot of color, there's a lot of charm. It's an Unreal Engine 5 open world title, but like truly, what is this? If you look up what the Nikki games are about, they are simply just dress up games. On paper, I really shouldn't like this game at all. And I kinda didn't when I first began, because I'm like, wow, you know, big, strong, masculine me. This is definitely not my groove. Where's the swords? Where's the dragons? The demons? The fire? The blood? The anime girls wearing chainmails with the hubba hubbas. As I played more and more and more of this, I'm like, this is a tasty apple pie. And I'm telling you right now, this is what happens when a guy plays Infinity Nikki.
I like it, I go la 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 la. I like it, I just wah 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 wah. Oh baby, say it and make it a day brighter day. I like it, I go la 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 la. I like it, I just wah 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 wah. Oh baby, it's alright to be.
It's hard work being this beautiful. This game is a live service, open world, platforming dress 'em up? Like, I'm trying to figure out the genre of this game, and I really don't know kind of what it is, but if you're familiar with something like Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact, it's along the same vein, just without all of the slashy. Just like those games, the open world here in Infinity Nikki is very much a playground with a bunch of activities, mini games, and different little things to do to encourage the player to explore. The main thing that you'll be wanting to collect here in the open world are the whim stars. Most of what you discover and do within the open world generally rewards the player with a whim star. These can be used to further advance the skill tree. And yes, believe it or not, there is a skill tree in a dress 'em up. Whether it be the curio portals, which are basically like little puzzle dungeons, similar to what you'd find in a Zelda game. These are all different for the most part and require you to do different little platforming challenges or puzzle solving situations. Sometimes you'll find a whim star challenge that requires you to collect all of the stars within a certain amount of time. Platformer game trope 101, where the collectible tries to run away from you, and it's your job to catch it. Sometimes you'll have to search for a star-like object or drawing within a certain radius, and this is almost always different for every single one of these challenges. Or just simply littered throughout the open world, which will require you to perform some platforming in order to reach the star. The game definitely gives you some Mario vibes, because like for one, you're constantly collecting the main collectible, which are stars, very Mario to begin with, but of course, with the platforming influence, no doubt a lot of the ideas were taken from Mario games to be put here into Infinity Nikki. Here we go! Minigames are also a bit of a focus here and can be found via the icons displayed on the map. There's all kinds of different ones, like jumping through a bunch of hoops in a certain amount of time, kicking a ball to get to the end goal, or perhaps riding a bike to go through as many rings as possible within a time limit. There's also these neat little play box games that you'll come across throughout the world. I've only come across 2 types so far. One is a Russian doll skill game where you have to keep focused on the certain blue fairy spirit. Make sure that you reveal the correct Russian doll. Or this paper crane one where you gotta tilt it and make sure it doesn't crash into any of the trees or the rocks to get to the goal. The minigames here don't reward you with whim stars, but rather diamonds, which is a currency that can be used to exchange for the premium item used to pull. So I mentioned how this setup is sort of a bit like Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves. Well, yeah, this is also a gacha as well, considering that the game revolves around clothes. Of course, the gacha system also does the same. It revolves around clothes. There are banners here that can be used to pull for different rarities of clothing items. Oh, cute, cute, okay. That is so sweet. Oh my god, sleigh handbag. Oh my god. Okay, cute, yeah, cute, cute, cute. Yo! Yo! Yes! Yes! Holy shit! 5-star! Yo! Look how gorgeous that is! Oh! Be the prettiest bitch in town! I think both Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact are two good examples of these live server gacha games done right in the sense of free to play. There are actual means via just simply playing the game in order to get certain currencies in order to be able to pull on the gacha system without needing to spend real money. And I think honestly from my experience so far with Infinity Nikki, because a lot of the activities and stuff you're doing in general throughout this open world reward you with diamonds in order to be able to then pull from the gacha system, this is yet another good example of free to play done right. It's hard to kind of dead set this though, just because I've only been playing for a week, and I think to truly get a grasp to say, hey, yeah, this live service game is totally viable to play free to play, I think you do need to play this type of thing for a few months before you can really make a final judgment. Now, I should probably comment on combat because the game does have combat, but don't go into this expecting some kind of hack and slash type setup. It is incredibly basic, and combat is by no means at all a focus of this game. Like I mentioned, exploration, puzzle solving, platforming, and customization, I would say, are the four main focuses. There are enemies in this game, and I love the designs of them. They are themed after different like clothing pieces and whatnot, which is cool because the entire lore and narrative of this world revolves around clothing. There are also caves as well that you can find in the world, and these are like little mini levels in themselves, which generally contain a lot of enemies. But there's never much challenge or really any depth whatsoever when it comes to the combat because it's one simple spell that you use, or at least I've seen so far, and most of the enemies only require one hit to be killed. I was surprised when I came across my first boss fight because I honestly wasn't expecting boss fights to be in the game, but yeah, there are boss fights, but they're more of like a Crash Bandicoot type boss fight where it's sort of like a platforming challenge, and then eventually the boss will reveal its weak point, then you send out your magic orb. You gotta do that maybe 5 or 6 times, and that's a boss fight. So combat is certainly here, it's just not a focus at all. All of these things that you are doing within the open worlds though will reward you with mirror XP. So just like how Genshin Impact has its adventure rank, or Wuthering Waves has its union level, which is basically the account's overall level, it's the exact same here in Infinity Nikki. As your mirror level increases, you're able to access more and more content. I also like how this game rewards you for every single mirror level you get instead of maybe like every 5 or 10 levels. And speaking of rewards, there is also the classic objective or achievement system along with dailies. These in return will reward you with the premium diamond currency. Now clothing's the big thing here, right? This is the main theme of the game. So rather than trying to pull for the 5-star super legendary mythic anime hero with a unique skill set, no, we're trying to pull for the 5-star Gucci socks. There is a lot of customization in this game, like a ton. There's all sorts of different sock, footwear pieces, pant pieces, top pieces, jackets, full-on outfits, accessories like necklaces, hand pieces, earrings, hats, glasses. There's even these cool little unique special effects called Eurekas, and it's just an endless amount of clothing in this game. Every single piece of clothing in the game has a certain score and rank towards the 5 different categories: elegant, fresh, sweet, sexy, and cool. So this is kind of like the game's stat system. Now from what I can tell, these stats are only important for the style challenges, which are also a part of the faction system. Around the world, you'll be able to challenge people to style challenges. However, they'll be asking for a certain category of style to be executed. So before you engage in the style challenge, you'll have to correctly dress Nikki to achieve the highest score in that specific style category with your currently available clothing pieces. In a funny way, this is sort of like a dress 'em up boss fight. After taking out the lower hierarchy of faction members, you'll eventually be able to challenge the faction's leader. You can also craft clothing. There are a ton of different materials that can be found out in the open world, along with being able to find clothing recipes within chests in the open world and just full-on clothing pieces in chests as well. There's also a lot of shops and vendors in the world too that you can use the bling currency, which is scattered all throughout the world. Think like Mario coins. These are literally everywhere and you'll always be collecting them. Also, different challenges and activities you're doing throughout the world will in return reward you with bling. Clothing and outfits can also be leveled up to increase the different style stats, along with even a clothing evolution system to unlock new color palettes. However, where our sass hits the Omega level is with the ability outfits. You'll automatically start the game off with 2 of these, one that allows you to perform the wind spell attack for combat, and the other one allowing you to perform a small double jump with a glide. However, there are more here that are unlocked via doing the main quest line. I should mention the almost profession-based ones, as there are kind of skills or professions in this game tied to ability outfits. The first one here is animal grooming. This outfit allows you to groom literally any animal, and in return, you get materials that can then be used for the crafting system. There's a bug catcher outfit that allows you to catch all kinds of different bugs, and of course, any good open world or RPG MMO type game needs a fishing minigame, and yes, there is a fishing outfit to allow you to fish, to catch fish to then be used in the crafting system as well. The more animals you groom, bugs you collect, or fishes you catch, you will increase your proficiency towards that certain profession. You can unlock further passive bonuses within the skill tree once your profession is at a certain level. Even combat and general collecting has its own level system here. This is known as insight, and again, as you increase these levels, you'll be able to unlock more bonuses in the skill tree. So even though this is a clothing eccentric game, there is actually a lot of almost RPG-esque elements to this system, even though something like combat is definitely taking a back seat. Because honestly, when I started Infinity Nikki, I was thinking to myself, how is it that the developers are going to make a open world dress 'em up interesting? But somehow they have. Now, there is a main quest line along with a ton of side quests throughout the game. The main scenario here, Nikki and her friend Momo, who is a talking cat, already love it, are mysteriously transported into Mirrorland. We were randomly punched in the stomach by this person known as Ina, who gave us the gift of the Heart of Infinity. I'm honestly not too sure what this is. I'm sure the main scenario is pursuing to explain this power, but it gives us some kind of unique magical abilities. This immediately makes us a very important figure. Thousands of years ago, gods ruled over this world, and when they disappeared, they left the ability of wish-making. Through this power, it allowed people to become stylists, to basically craft outfits that come with all kinds of unique abilities. You can already see where this is going. Some people are using this for good, some people are using this for bad. There is also this thing known as the miracle outfit that can grant any one singular wish and make it come true. I didn't experience too much of the story because there's only 2 chapters in the build that I got to play. However, I will say that for a dress 'em up game, the level of fantasy that's infused into this and just how interesting this narrative is kind of blew me away, because again, I went into this game with very low expectations, just because this is not my kind of game at all, but I'm sort of like hooked in on the narrative. I think it's kind of interesting, and it's impressive how the devs made a game like this actually interesting from a narrative point of view. The main narrative though has some pretty cool content where you actually go into fully fledged platforming levels with a certain amount of stars and dews of inspiration to collect. So like almost going into a Mario or Crash Bandicoot-esque level with its own collectibles. I believe these are known as dungeons. They're not like crazy Mario platforming levels or anything like that, but it's cool to actually have a proper handcrafted out of the open world platforming level to play. And I'm assuming that as the game receives more updates and the main scenario continues, more of these kinds of levels will be added to the game. There's a lot of side quests here as well. I haven't done too many of these just because there is actually a lot here. They're pretty standard for the most part. Most of the ones that I came across will have you playing a game of I Spy, where you have to find something within a picture because the person asking you is too thick and dim-witted to figure it out for themselves. So my thoughts overall on Infinity Nikki here are I can't believe I actually like this. Open world, live service, gacha RPGs are becoming incredibly common nowadays. A lot of companies are wanting to write off the success of Genshin Impact, but what Infinity Nikki does different here is rather than having this emphasis on combat, it's more about just more so minigames, exploration, and platforming. So because of this makes this specific gacha live service game stand out in amongst the rest. It's honestly a breath of fresh air, and there's just so much stuff to do and to see in this world, where I feel like for the at least initial part of starting this game up, it is just a ton of fun. What will be interesting is to see if the game can actually maintain the player's attention for months on end. Hopefully Infold do a good job of adding in regular, fresh, additional content so that the game doesn't stale out. This is an issue that I generally have with a lot of gacha related live service games, is that there's only so much to do each day when you log in, where eventually my attention towards these kinds of games ends up fizzling out. The last thing I want to say here is this game is gorgeous. It's really nice to see such high quality presentation in a live service game. It's a UE5 title, so the environments look completely stunning, the character models look great, the physics are awesome. It kind of does feel like I'm playing a AAA single player console based title, but no, this is a live service gacha game. So that's my thoughts on Infinity Nikki. I believe the game is slated for 2024, but don't hold me to that. It might end up being an early 2025 release. When the public release does happen, it will be launching on PC, PlayStation 5, and mobile. There's already like 21 million people pre-registered, which really goes to show that a ton of gamers want to become fabulous. Big thanks to Infold Games for providing me early access to this. I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up with everything going on here. Check out my other garbage social media platforms. As always, a big thank you to my turkey-tastic patrons. I hope you're all having a fandabulous day, and we'll talk real soon.